the day you saved my soul. You've been proving.
This is the
Hey guys, and welcome to the XFL Extra Points podcast. This is number 8, 2 months of doing this shit. Can you believe it? I'm Justin. I'm here with Thomas. Thomas, say something so people know you exist.
Welcome to Bald Head Game, Justin.
Yeah, so I shaved my head
Yeah.
a little less than a week ago. I mean, yeah, a little less. A couple days ago. 5 or 6 days. Thomas
good.
also has a shaved head. So
I've
now
had a
we're
shave.
both.
Oh, it feels good. We say shaved. It's not like chromed.
Yeah, it's like a buzz cut.
Yeah, but
like a
it feels
buzz cut.
good. Feels good. Feels good. Looks good. Boomer.
So currently, I'm in Washington, D.C., in a hotel room. So if it sounds a little bit different, that'd be why.
And I am at my
Thomas
parents'
is in
house.
Brentwood, yeah.
And so if it sounds different, I don't know why.
But he's actually in where I normally live.
Mm-hmm.
So it just so happened that I'm gone when he's, when we could have recorded in the same room. But whatever, maybe sometime soon. But so it's kind of a slow period. We don't have like a draft or uniforms to talk about, so we had to come up with something to talk about probably for the next 2 weeks. So today we're going to be doing news and notes as usual, but we're also going to be doing something called Our Sons, and we're going to be telling you guys our sons in the XFL. This week it's going to be part 1. Next week will be part 2. Part 1 is going to be offensive players. Thomas, do you kind of want to explain what a son is? I know we've talked about it before, but...
All right, so here's how it goes. So this makes total sense in my head, and I understand the criteria completely. But when I say it, it's going to be confusing, and I'm probably going to contradict myself like 4 times. But that's okay. So, a son. This all started with... Who did I say was my son? Who was I don't remember who my first son was, but there was a player, basically, who everyone was like, no, he's not going to be that good. No, he won't get drafted this high. And I was like, fuck you. He is my son. He will get drafted this high at this spot, and he will be great. And he was, or at least he's doing okay. I don't remember who it is, to be honest with you. But the concept of a son is basically someone who you like and you think is going to do well, or you like something about the way they play or the way they are, and you kind of have to defend them to other people when you say that you like them, because there's either players that are at their same position that are ranked higher than them in the draft process, or he sucks and you don't think he sucks, which is the case sometimes, or stuff like that. Basically, you should be... If someone is your son, you should be a little bit like, oh, yeah, I like him, fuck it. Like, there should be a little bit of hesitation. There
No matter what happens.
There should be a little bit, and you stand by your son, because he's your son, unless he does something, horribly illegal.
Horribly wrong. And one thing I want to mention is, like, if your son's good, that's not necessarily doesn't mean he can't be your son, because let's say, like, people, maybe he wasn't great when you liked him, and then over time... He's become good, and now people are on the board. But you were there from the beginning.
You're there from the beginning. Son. And, like, Baker Mayfield would be my son, but he was drafted number 1 overall, so he cannot be.
See, so Lamar Jackson's my son, but when he was drafted, he was 32nd. They had to trade up to get him, and he probably could have fallen into the second round. But Lamar Jackson's my son because when he was coming out, lots of people weren't, he's not going to be an NFL quarterback.
He wasn't going to be good. There
was many who thought he was not going to be good.
This is another discussion for another time, but I don't understand what people were looking at when they didn't think he was going to be good. I could understand.
But now Lamar Jackson's MVP caliber, he's still my son.
Gonna win it. It's either him or
I've been with him.
I think it's Lamar.
I liked him in college, and I liked him coming in the draft. When the day he got drafted, I texted Thomas. I texted everyone who would care. I said, Lamar Jackson's going to be the best quarterback from this class.
And I said, if he puts it together, absolutely. And he went to the perfect situation, and he did, because he's good. I don't know. I don't know if he can be your son. I think he's polarizing.
I think he can be my son. He's polarizing now. He wasn't as polarizing as he was.
He was absolutely
polarizing.
People who said he should be a wide receiver should never talk about football again. That's bad. Whatever.
Well, people did.
I know, because they're stupid, and I'm smarter than them. So
I had to defend him in the past, and people even last year he got to the playoffs, and they were like,
Well,
and then he did shitty in the playoffs. And I was still like, he's still great. Like, he's a rookie.
That's the thing. just like I said, the criteria for son is not necessarily there, but if we go case by case, sure, he can be your son, I guess. For
It's a pretty loose definition.
It is a loose definition.
Jair Alexander is your son, so
Jair,
you can
well,
chill.
there were loopholes there. I jumped through the loopholes. He was like the third corner taken in that draft. Jair Alexander is probably my most successful son. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, fair. Yeah, but I mean, none of my sons are ever gonna win fucking MVP, so fuck you.
Well, didn't know that was gonna happen. Anyway, now we've been arguing about Lamar Jackson.
Yes. Sorry.
But
yes.
the term's loose.
Yes.
I think the best way to explain it is that it's someone you like a lot. It's really the basis of it.
Yeah,
now,
that is not necessarily
have to,
well liked by either the general public or your friends or whoever you talk to about sports with.
And it's subject to change, and people may turn and start liking him. But I think if you were there from the beginning, he's your son. And so anyway,
nowhere close
so
to the
this long definition of a son is going to make it somewhat confusing.
Yeah, probably was super clear,
Anyway, so we're going to go through our sons, and I want to do a little bit of disclaimer. This league's new. Some of these players are new to us, and maybe we didn't have defined sons, but and it's hard to say that someone isn't liked or someone isn't blah, 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 because, no one's talking about these. All these guys would be sons if they were in the NFL, for sure.
Yes, for sure. And
So-
I'll specify, and you can specify if you want, but I'll specify what I would call adopted sons, and I do have one prodigal son. That's what Lamar Jackson is. He's a prodigal son. But we'll get to that definition when we get to that definition.
But anyway, all right, well, that was I guess I need to shout out everything we normally shout out.
Yes.
Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at
Yes.
XFL Extra Point. You can send us DMs on there, and we'll, if they're kind of questions or topics, something you want us to talk about, we'll
Send
answer
us
on the show.
anything.
We haven't really got any of that, so you guys should totally do it. So we have shit to talk about.
Even if you just want to give your thoughts about either the last show or something coming up or something that happened, let us know, because we're there, dude.
And we also have an email that you
do.
can send stuff to if you don't use Twitter. You can send questions and the same thing you'd send the DMs that I just explained. You'd send it to extrapointcontact@gmail.com.
Beautiful.
Literally send us anything. It doesn't even have to be XFL related.
You just want to say hello. Maybe you'll get on the show for saying hello. Who knows,
We'll shout you out. So
Yes,
anyway, make sure you guys follow us on everything. Make sure if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, whatever system they have, to subscribe, comment, rate, whatever, whatever it is. Do that because it helps us out, helps us grow, helps more people find us.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Anyway, time for the news drop.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
All right, first story from our news and notes. So, about a few weeks ago, the XFL launched this football advisory network. That I'm going to do a little sidebar here. I tried to get us in on that, and so I put in all our specifications. Like, I have a podcast. Ask those kind of things, and it was like, we have enough of you. So it didn't let me join it.
Nerds.
So it didn't let me join the football advisory network. So I have to get my updates via news stories or people telling me what's happening on there. But anyway, so this football advisory network is kind of this thing that connects fans and lets them answer questions that will potentially influence the XFL and how they're going to change things. And so this week, anyway, what I'm trying to get to is this week on that football advisory network, the XFL hinted at a potential XFL app, I guess they don't have any. They were just asking questions like, have you used mobile apps from other sports teams or leagues during the most recent season? What's
Yes,
your
I
favorite
have.
sports app? What do you love most about your favorite sports app? Would you like the XFL shop to offer, or would you like the XFL to offer an app? What would you
Absolutely.
want from an official XFL app?
Stuff.
What kind of information and content would you want to see in the app?
All the
So I mean, they're obviously thinking about releasing an app.
Yeah.
And what's something you'd want to see on an app, Thomas?
I would really like just to see it, first and foremost, to be just congregation of news from other sources. Just because the XFL is so young and not necessarily established yet. Unless you use our Twitter account like we do and kind of see stuff just pop up because we already have followed some sources. It's kind of hard unless you're seeking it out. Like, you're not just going to see it. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true.
So that would be nice. And, of course, like, you know, just the basic, like, oh, the fucking... I almost said the Birmingham Iron. The New York Guardians are playing the fucking Vipers, and they're fucking... here's the score. Like, shit like that would be cool. If you like, for me... Like, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, so I have the Cleveland Browns app, and I unfortunately listen to every game if I can't find a stream, and I suffer that way. But, like, you can listen to, like, the radio broadcasts and stuff like that, which I'm not sure the XFL will have, but if they do, that'd be cool. Stuff like that. Like, just some basic stuff. It don't have to be anything ridiculous, I don't think.
I mean, so you're thinking almost like a Bleacher Report type situation.
Well, not Bleacher
Where
Report,
they've got
but
aggregated. I know you don't like Bleacher Report, but they've aggregated news.
But yes, stuff like that.
And so you click on your team, and then they've got all the news stories there.
Yeah, precisely like that. Yes, precisely.
And I guess, I mean, I wouldn't mind them putting the shop, including it in there. Instead of us having to go to the website. You know, little stuff like that. Like, I mean, what's realistically, what's an app going to do that's groundbreaking for the XFL?
Nothing.
It's not like Your Call Football. You remember that?
I do. That's what that was. I had fun with that for about. Is that still around?
I think it is, low key. I actually don't know.
Do that this season.
But
I
don't think they can do anything extreme here with this app. I mean, essentially, if it was like ESPN or something like that, I mean, it'd be cool if they let people host things on it. Like, what if we could host our show on the XFL thing?
That'd
like
be cool.
It was just another, you know, something like that would be cool.
That would be very cool. I don't know if they'd be that willing to do that to just us two knuckleheads. You know what I mean?
Not. That's what I'm saying. That it wouldn't be so much in the way. You know how I was about to kind of explain it, like Reddit.
Okay, know? I get
or
you. So like a discussion, like, all right, this is for all the Guardians fans. Go here and talk about the shit. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
you could see like a forum on there, a news section on there.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
So,
I don't think they'll do that, but that would be really cool if they did.
See, this is why they need me in the Football Advisory Network. You should have let me in, XFL.
We got all the good ideas. You're just missing out.
I would have submitted it.
You're getting Johnny football fan who's just like, give me the skiers. And it's like, well, we're going to do that anyway. So.
All right. Well, so we just know they're making an app, so that's cool. We'll be looking forward to it. We'll see what they do. Hopefully people gave good suggestions.
Hopefully they don't charge money for it.
There's no way they're charging money for it.
Well, they're charging $80 for a football, so you never fucking know.
Did you say $80?
Wasn't it $80?
$125.
God, for $80 worth of jerseys. Excuse me. The shit jerseys. The shit ones.
Yeah, $80.
No, they're not shit.
Yeah, for the shit jerseys.
We shouldn't say they're
They are the shit jerseys.
Just the not personalized ones. I
have
the number 20, which is the worst number.
Yes. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, you're good. I'm taking us off on.
You're just ranting on
Here we go.
the jersey.
Here we go.
All right, moving on to the next story. So this one's more of a bigger story, I think.
Yes.
And I've changed wording here. Mm-hmm. So it says Phillip Walker and Landry Jones not allowed to sign with the Steelers in 2019. Now everywhere I see says blocked, and I changed it because I don't think that's fair.
Okay.
Blocked is kind of the wrong word.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well.
So what happened is apparently after Ben Roethlisberger went down, and that was a big thing, and somehow the Steelers still make the playoffs somehow. But after Ben Roethlisberger went down, it was, scary because Mason Rudolph isn't all that great. They didn't know if Duck Hodges was going to be all that great. And so they wanted to at least bring some people in. And who better to bring in than someone who's already started for you in the past because of injury and someone who's familiar with the system. They wanted Landry Jones. Problem is Jones was like one of the first players to sign a contract with the XFL. Mm-hmm. And so Oliver Luck, the commissioner, obviously was like, no, you're not taking Landry Jones.
It's like, no,
smart.
Dog. Yes.
Now, they could have allowed him. They could have exempted the contract probably in some way. But they were like, they're not going to make the same mistakes the AAF made where they just let people leave and come whenever they felt like.
Yeah.
Because then you have no stability at all. You at least have to keep them there for a season. Mm-hmm. And all these things are going to be one-year contracts as far as it seems. So that's, if you've signed a contract, you're staying with the XFL for that year that you signed that contract for, and they're not letting you out.
Which
smart thing to do.
Fair, yeah.
And so the next thing, so they didn't get Landry Jones. Obviously, they didn't know. So then the Steelers made a second attempt to get Philip Walker, right? So after before they played the Ravens, they wanted Walker to come in as a scout team player to kind of be Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
And Oliver Luck again was like, no, we're not doing that. This one's a little bit different to me because it wouldn't have affected the XFL season.
Well,
but
yes.
It still sets a bad precedent.
Yes, exactly. And I think you have to treat excuse me, sorry. You have to treat it as a blanket, like, no, you signed a contract, you will be at this contract. If the Steelers or a team that wants to pay out your contract, then fine. But otherwise, which I don't even know if the payout is even.
I don't even know if they do the payout because they could probably
I doubt
pay
they
it
would
out
do
if
it
they
now
wanted.
because it's the inception of the league. But maybe that'll be in the future. Anyway, but you signed a contract, you got to play here. That's how it works. Which I get it. That's totally makes sense. I don't think that's scummy in any way. I completely understand where they're coming from. Especially in the Philip Walker situation, even though that doesn't necessarily interfere with his XFL stuff, anything can happen. Like some scout team D lineman or some D lineman can get just too into a play and hit him too hard the wrong way, or shit. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater almost lost his fucking leg, like
just
in a
dropping
non-contact
back.
injury.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's,
so I mean,
that's fair. I honestly didn't think of it from that angle.
Yeah, anything can happen, and it for the NFL, that's crap. This scout team quarterback is injured, whatever. For the XFL, that's one of your premier quarterbacks that is gone.
Yeah.
So, or
You're
tier
right,
one
you're right.
quarterbacks
So-
that's gone. So, I understand it completely.
There's literally nothing wrong with this.
Yes.
So Oliver
it's just
Luck, he
interesting.
said he's not opposed to letting XFL players join the NFL. He just hopes that once the XFL season is over, the players find the jobs in the fall. And Luck claims he does not want the XFL players constantly rotating in and out of organizations.
Which is fair.
So, I mean, makes sense with what we're saying. We had a similar thing happen a couple weeks ago with the Josh Johnson, and they didn't let him go play for the Lions. You know, it's all the same stuff. Like once you sign that contract, you at least got to play that year.
Yeah, which is understandable, and yeah, it's understandable.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a story that everyone's talking about, and people in the mainstream media are really looking down on the XFL for it. When they're not thinking it through, I don't think
They're not.
It'd be
all
like
they're
if someone was
seeing
playing on the
is-
Browns,
Yeah.
and then they were like, "Hey, we need your Browns player to come play for the Ravens." Well, he signed with the Browns. Yeah. Well, I mean, come on, the Ravens are better than the Browns, so just let them play with
exactly.
us.
Well, you're
like,
exactly
no.
right. I think, they're just looking at it like, oh, well, this is just the little league, small league, like that. You don't matter enough to say no, and it's like, well, they're trying to. So this is the first step in being legitimate: is acting like you're legitimate and not bowing to the big bully of the NFL. So that's they have to.
We
do
both
this.
agree.
Yes.
Nothing wrong here.
Nothing wrong
Good
here
on the
whatsoever. Yes, on the XFL's part. Nothing wrong here in the NFL's part either, by the way.
No, of course they'd ask. I mean, might as well
of course
ask.
they do. Why not? There's literally nothing to lose.
Yeah. So, all right. Anyway, that's it for news this week. Only two stories to talk about.
Yep.
So I guess let's get into our Suns Part 1.
Suns Part 1.
Yeah. And so this time we've got the teams organized alphabetically.
Yes, thank you,
So how
Justin,
about that?
for doing all 99% of the organization for this show. Look at you.
So anyway, I guess I'll go first and you go second.
Go
Let's
for
just
it.
do it that way.
And is this just us like explaining, or do we can I criticize your son?
I mean, yeah, you can say whatever you want about my son.
Okay, I don't really
say
have any
whatever-
criticism. You said that you got his
I'm just
little
saying.
man. He's like,
What do you mean you're going to criticize? No, you can say whatever you want about my son. If you got something good to
Alright.
say, you got something bad to say it.
All right.
So anyway,
Silly boost.
we're starting with the Dallas Renegades. We're
Let's do
going
it.
one per team on the offensive side of the ball.
Yes,
All right.
offensive side of the ball this week, defensive side of the ball next week.
Yep. All right. So my first player with the Dallas Renegades, it's Stacy Coley. He's a wide receiver out of University of Miami, and now he's playing for the Dallas Renegades. So why he's my son is first and foremost, and this is you're gonna see a trend here. He was a former Vikings player, and he's a guy I remember playing with the Vikings, not in the regular season because he just really didn't play in the regular season, but he was really kind of a preseason stud. Like he had some big games with us. He only was with us for 1 season, 1.5 seasons. and he performed well in the preseason. So he was a big play guy. He was able to rack up like big yards on few touches. Like it was like he'd have like 3 receptions for 78 yards or something like that. He just, I just thought he would make the team long term, at least as like a 5th or 6th option. Never a guy who'd really see much of the field, but someone to have there in case someone got hurt. Because I thought he had potential to be, at least decent, at least serviceable when he came in. But
Why do you think
he's
they cut
fun
him?
to watch. Wait, say that again. What?
Why do you think they cut him? Or because was he was on the team with Treadwell, right?
Yes. Yes, he was.
Okay, that might be why then. Never mind. Well, why do you think they cut him?
I would just have to assume it's like you get to the bottom of that roster, and he's a smaller guy. He's not like in terms of like you could probably find more players like him.
Okay.
Like he's not like 1 in a million in terms of.
Because I like Stacey Cooley too. So.
I would say it's just he's like a kind of a receiver that's.
There.
You can find them elsewhere, and it's like
I get you. He's replaceable. Okay.
Yeah. So
I got you.
But in the preseason, like he seemed to catch the ball well. I think in the open field is where he's best. Like he just had good jukes. Kind of reminded me of Stephon Diggs when he has the ball. Like he's just kind of one of those people who stands in places and jukes, and then eventually he sees his lane and runs.
Yeah.
Like he's fun to watch, and so I like him. That's why he's my son. Like I have a Vikings connection with him. He's a name that when he got drafted, I was like, I remember Stacey Cooley. I remember this guy. He wasn't on our team for very long, but I do remember because I watch all the preseason games. Like, I do remember watching him make plays and being like, this guy's going to make our team because he's pretty damn good. So, all right, well, that's my son for the Dallas Renegades.
All right.
Who do you got?
So my son for the Dallas Renegades is Dimitri Flowers, halfback/fullback, University of Oklahoma. Dimitri Flowers is actually one of my favorite college football players of all time, which may seem weird if we have any listeners that keep up with college football, because it's not like he was some world beater Heisman candidate or anything like that. But he is what I like to call a superback, which means he can play fullback or halfback, and he definitely alternated between the two while in college. He's awesome. In college, Dimitri was a fantastic lead blocker. He was always clearing the way because Oklahoma, for the past nearly decade, Oklahoma's always had like the fucking amazing college running backs. So, but Dimitri his senior year was 2016. So for his first 3 years at OU, he was exclusively a fullback. And then I don't know what changed, but they started giving him the ball more and actually started letting him take the ball in more of like a halfback situation. And he was awesome. He's one of those dudes who, when he has the ball, I don't even know how many career fumbles he had, but not many. He has soft hands. He's a versatile blocker. Even when he would line up in the slot, whenever he had to come across the middle and take out a linebacker, just in blocking, not necessarily come across the middle, but chip on a linebacker or an edge rusher, it was good. I like halfbacks that can block, and he's good at it. He's a great blocker. He's not a whiffer, and he's not a throw a shoulder at you and hope it happens. No, he blocks you like a lineman. He sets his feet, he drops his hips, gets an anchor, and you're there. You're not going anywhere. Just respected blocker. He's a solid athlete for the position. He ran like a 4.8 at the combine, which for NFL skill player is not fantastic, but whatever. And soft hands. I don't think he had a drop in college. He hasn't really latched on anywhere in the NFL. He was an undrafted free agent with the Jets and was on the team for like 10 days. He was on the Jags for about 6 months, and then he was cut after that. And then his college coach, Bob Stoops, was like, hey, do you want to play in the XFL? And he was like, yeah, dude. So I love Dimitri Flowers. Dimitri Flowers is one of my true sons. I hope he succeeds. I love Dimitri Flowers.
So I was going to ask you whether you think he's going to play fullback or halfback, because I was looking at some of his stuff, and he does seem more like they used him for blocking. Not that he couldn't run, but
yeah, you're right.
And so, but I don't know if the XFL is necessarily going to have fullbacks. Like
Exactly.
how
And
many
I don't
schemes are
know-
really going to be running with fullbacks? Not that many NFL teams run with fullbacks.
Yes, and which is fine. If they just have him as like a change of pace halfback, I think he'll do fine. If they
Right.
have him on like passing down halfback where he's in there to block basically, fine. I hope they use him more because I think he can do more. But I mean, Bob Stoops will be able to figure out what he can do because he had him
Yeah.
in school for 4 years. So
He played with Baker Mayfield. Is that part of
yes.
the reason you?
Yes, maybe because he
Like
was
a-
always Baker's safety blanket in college. He'd be like, shit. Oh look, Dimitri Flowers, 5 yards. Woo. Yeah, I love Dimitri Flowers. I hope it is my hope that their scheme calls for a fullback so that they can not run a wishbone, but at least have two legitimate like who are we gonna hand the ball off to options on the field because I love that and more trickeration is always a good thing in my eyes. So
Yeah.
I'm
I
all
see
for
that with
trickeration.
some of your selections going down the
Yes.
list here, and I was
Yes.
looking. You like a lot of former quarterbacks.
Yes,
who have
you'll see
since
a
changed
recurring
position.
theme is I love converted quarterbacks. I think they're awesome. All right,
But
that's
all
all I
right.
gotta say about Dimitri
Dimitri
Flowers. He is my son.
All right, so Dallas Renegades. I got Stacy Coley as my son. He's got Dimitri Flowers. I think both of these guys are true sons.
Yes, true sons for sure.
All right, well, let's go on to the DC Defenders.
All right.
And so I'll go first here. And so my son for the DC Defenders is Donnell Pumphrey. So this is my
Surprise.
guy. So so you've probably heard this. I've said this on the show. I went to San Diego State. And so when I was my freshman season, as if I played, my freshman year
Dude, I played fucking quarterback, dude.
at San Diego State, Pumphrey was in his senior season. I'm sure college football fans at least know who Donnell Pumphrey is.
You should.
Because this guy is, he's number one in rushing yards in college football history. I mean, he was a stud and he was our workhorse. And so I went to that first year. I went to almost every single game, and I got to see him just single-handedly run our offense. Like, he was our best receiver, he was our best running back, and it just every time he got the ball, it was a first down. And so he was just he was a legend at the school. He's best running back we had since Marshall Faulk. So people just love Donnell Pumphrey. I think as a player too, he's dynamic in a ton of ways. He's the all-time leading rusher. He racked up 6,402 yards, played 4 seasons, so a little less than 2,000 yards a season. And we're not even factoring receiving yards into all that. And you definitely should because he's, a receiving back. He's not purely a runner. He's a guy who catches the ball. As I said, he was our best wide receiver. He was just an electric player to watch, and I have good memories of Pumphrey. So when I think about San Diego State that first year, I think of Pumphrey leading us to the conference championship my first year there. And you got to root for him too because he's very small. He's 5'8", 176.
He's very small.
He's just very small. When he got in the
not
NFL,
wrong.
I knew he wasn't gonna be an NFL guy
Yeah.
because when I saw him in the games, obviously he was a little dude. And I was he's very productive.
Yes.
Once you get to the NFL and you got a lot of gigantic dudes around you, it's gonna be a little scary. I mean, he fell to the 4th round, but 4th round is pretty good for a dude who's 5'8", 176.
Not too
He was
shabby.
never gonna play wide receiver because he's so small.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think I got to root for him because he's small, and he's a guy who I have fond memories of from college. So,
I have
Donnell
one question
Pumphrey,
for you,
that's my
Justin.
son.
Is he small?
All right, Thomas, who's your son?
Okay, so my son on the DC Defenders is Justin Thomas, who is a wide receiver, but he played quarterback at Georgia Tech. So he is my son because triple option quarterbacks are fucking awesome. Because if you're the starting quarterback in a triple option system, it usually means, oh, you can run, you can maybe pass a little bit. We may never pass, but if we do, what's going to happen? Who knows? I don't. So I love triple option offense. I love watching it. It saddens me that Georgia Tech does not run the triple option anymore, but I understand why.
Yeah, that's not effective.
Yeah. But yeah, this guy is, he's a starting quarterback, so he's already going to be a tough, competitive kid. He's probably going to be a leader if you put him in that position too. It's a little different when you go to the pros, of course. But he can move. He's got the rare combo of quickness and agility, and single leg agility, meaning like he can plant his foot and change direction great, but he also has long speed. He's a little small. He's not as small as Donnell Pumphrey, of course. I'll say he's undersized. And he probably is not going to be a natural receiver just because that's not the position he played growing up. But I like him. I hope he succeeds. And also, as Justin pointed out to me before the show started, his name is Justin Thomas. I missed that somehow. But yeah, so I will say he's an adopted son, which means I did not have a shitload of knowledge beforehand about him. I knew of him, and I knew that how do I say this right? 'Cause I'm gonna say I knew of him and I know him was him. I knew who he was, but I wasn't well versed in him as much as I should have been after watching and doing a little more research. Because this dude's awesome. He's fun to watch. He's your classic, like, exciting college player that doesn't necessarily work out super hard in the pros, but maybe he will in the XFL.
Right. So, yeah, Justin Thomas, I feel like he should low-key just be an honorary son of the show just because his name's Justin Thomas.
So now he will join Damian Mama in our honorary. So we should add that to, like, we should have that.
We should have
somewhere.
an honorary son section. So we got
Have like
Damian
a
Mama
plaque.
and Justin Thomas.
Damian Mama and Justin Thomas. This whole this whole category is based on your name.
It is. But sometimes that's all you need for someone to be your son. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you just got to like them. It doesn't matter why you like them.
That's true.
You just got to like them a lot.
That's true.
And so, anyway, Justin Thomas and Donnell Pumphrey, that's our DC Defenders' sons. The thing with, I was going to say about Justin Thomas when you were talking about and how you called him adopted son.
Yes.
What I was going to say is, so he's like someone that you watched and you knew who he was, but if someone were to say, oh, like Justin Thomas, you'd be like, I don't even know who that is. But when you look back at his highlights, you're like, oh, yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah,
and,
like I remember watching him, not necessarily watching the game, be like, yeah, that's Justin Thomas, bro. But it'd be like, oh, that's Georgia Tech quarterback. He's pretty good. Like stuff like that.
And that's going to happen here because, as I said at the beginning, at the top of the show, some of these guys are guys we didn't have a ton of like knowledge about, but now we've been looking through the roster, we've been looking through tape on these players, we've been learning more about them. We're going to find people that we like and that we're going to latch on to and we looked through these rosters, and these are the guys that stuck out to us. So for whatever reason they did, and I can make them a son. I'm telling you, it doesn't take much.
I will make you my son.
Anyway, we're going to move on to the Houston Roughnecks, and I'm going to go first again. And this one's going to be somewhat of an adopted son, and his name is Andre Williams. He's a running back from Boston College. And I didn't really know. As I said, I'm not a college football guy, so I don't watch a ton of college football. But I remember when he was one of the first guys I saw the little highlight reel for when they were doing the XFL draft. They had little hype packages for players, and they did Andre Williams. I was like, name sounds familiar, and I wanted to see how good he was, and I watched a ton of tape. And then I quickly found out that this is like the type of guy I like at running back.
Yeah.
He's so powerful. He's straight. He runs into people. He runs like 6 people grab onto him, and he gets 6 yards. And that was like the first thing when I started watching football that I loved about it was just how violent it was. He's just a violent runner. He's a big dude who runs through people. And even as big as he is and how he's like a traditional power back, he's still shifty. Not the fastest dude in the world, but he's just fun to watch. It's like my favorite type of running back is a power back, and there's just not enough of them in professional football. And I just, a guy who plays like that is a guy that I'm going to be drawn to because I want to see him run dudes over. I want to see him on the 1-yard line push through 6 tacklers and get into the end zone. I want to see him stiff arm the shit out of people. And so in my research, I found out he was a Heisman, like not runner-up, but he was getting Heisman votes, and he was considered for the Heisman.
Yes.
I could see why. I mean, he was just stiff-arming the shit out of people, running through people. That's just my kind of player, and so that's why he is my son.
So, fun fact about Andre Williams. So, when you're a finalist for the Heisman, you can vote for the Heisman. And
Weird.
Johnny Manziel's vote for the Heisman was Andre Williams.
Well, that makes sense.
Yes.
That's what I would do.
So, of course.
Why wouldn't you?
Whatever. Fun fact, you know? All right. So,
but yeah, that's my kind of guy.
yeah, you like the power. You like the powerful dudes. You like the big beef boys.
I just like that type of. I like dudes who, there's just not enough power backs, and so I like seeing dudes run through dudes. Like that's just fun to watch. And that's what football was like when I first started watching. There's a lot more powerful running backs, and now it's really transitioned into the finesse game and the receiving back game. And I just like guys who
draw
are still just
flags
super
game.
strong.
Yes.
And still just run through people, and it doesn't matter if you only get 6 yards as long as you just destroyed someone on the play.
Yes.
So that's why I like him. I like the way he plays.
I like Andre Williams too.
All right.
right.
So who's your guy? Who's your son for the Roughnecks?
My son, and this is the true son, is Blake Jackson. He was a quarterback at Mary Hardin Baylor, but surprise, surprise, he plays a different position
Oh, wow.
in the XFL. He plays wide receiver. The reason I like Blake Jackson, the reason I know about Blake Jackson, first of all, because he was on the Browns practice squad, or preseason roster, I should say. And he was great. He's not necessarily a fantastic athlete. That's why he went Division III. By the way, shout out Division III. I don't know if I can really claim that I was a Division III athlete. Well, I was at one point for a brief period of time. But
You were.
very brief period of time. But Division III, baby, shout out. All right. So he ran at Mary Hardin Baylor's pro day, he ran a 4.7, which for an NFL wide receiver is basically like, well, you're not going to be a wide receiver, big fella. But he does make up for it because he is very quick, and his change direction and short distance movements are fantastic. This is a dude who really, I don't want to say went off, but was a very good producer in the preseason for the Browns, and I think he was really just kind of was cut due to a numbers game and due to other factors, and just, who the Browns had at wide receiver and how they were projected to be at that time, which is better than they are now. But yeah, so Blake Jackson, not really a whole lot to say about him, but when he was on the Browns and he was balling in the preseason, I really liked him, and I wish he would have made the team.
I did just learn something there from your little speech on him, though. I
What did
didn't
you
know D3 did pro days.
Yes. So D3 is weird because you can have D3 schools that are literally like 20 dudes in that like practice. Their locker room is a barn, or you can have schools like Mary Hardin Baylor is like a premier Division III program. Like they're I would say they're not the best because that's like Wisconsin Whitewater. Is that if that's D3? Fuck, I don't know.
would not know that.
Yeah, but whatever. But like Mary Hardin Baylor is like a premier program. They're not affiliated with Baylor, but like historically they are. They're a premier D3 program, so it's different for them. D3 is weird.
What encompasses D3? Like, are
A
community
shitload.
colleges D3?
No, those are usually JUCO.
Or are they a level below? That's something different.
So here's how it goes.
D3s are like 4-year
Yes.
programs.
Yes. So D1, you have full scholarships. It's the whole shebang. D2, you can still have full scholarships. D3, you have no athletic scholarships at all. And it's really, the rules are you're still governed by the NCAA, but like D3 is weird.
Okay.
Because it's just, like I said, you'll have these little podunk towns that have D3 schools, or you'll have schools like Mary Hardin Baylor and Wisconsin Whitewater and like Marietta and Ohio and shit like that. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, they know what I'm talking about. And then below that, you have JUCO, which is like community colleges like that, like Last Chance U. I don't know if you've watched that. Those are JUCOs.
I've watched that, yeah. Okay.
It-
And
the
do JUCOs have 4-year seasons? I mean, 4-year.
No.
Like,
So
is it a
JUCOs,
4-year college? Can you
are
go there for
2-year
4?
they're-
Can you play for 4 years?
No, you can only play there for 2. Because
Okay.
they don't offer anything academically past a associate's.
Right, that's true.
So there, and then past JUCO, because JUCO is not governed by NCAA either, but it's easier to go from a JUCO to an NCAA school than it is to go from an NAIA school, which is even weirder than D3. So NAIA, you'll have it's not touched by the NCAA whatsoever. Hold on, I dropped my microphone. Give me a moment. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I dropped my microphone. It's not governed by the NCAA at all. It's a whole different separate governing body, and NAIA schools can actually play NCAA schools. Just the talent gap is there. So, and
Gotcha.
they'll also be, and you also cannot give scholarships at the NAIA level, or at least athletic scholarships. And there are some
Well, the reason I
NAIA
asked
schools. Yes, go ahead. Sorry, I'm done explaining that. I'm good.
The reason I asked that, it was
Yes.
more for knowledge on my own son that's going to come later.
Yes.
Because he was
That's
a
fine.
community college guy, but it doesn't say he
Okay.
went to any other school, which surprises me because I was like, you played for 2 years and he was done?
So
I
what
guess
might have
so.
happened with him, and I don't know, is he might have gone to a 4-year university for 2 years, and then wanted to play football, or maybe something happened academically or something like that, and he had to go to a JUCO for that, and was like, fuck it, I'm going to play some football. And maybe that's what happened, but that's just one
Maybe.
scenario that might have.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
we'll move on because that's
Yeah.
the son I want to talk about the most.
Yes.
That's my favorite
and
son.
if you want to cut that info dump, feel free.
No, it's okay. I mean, people
All
will
right.
learn. It's time to learn, Thomas. We're learning together. All right. So anyway, we're moving on to the LA Wildcats, and my son here is another true son because he's
son.
another San Diego State guy, and I just have an affinity for San Diego State guys, and so obviously, and so that's Nico Zaragoza. He's an offensive guard. He played with Pumphrey. He was there when I went to school, and I knew a little bit. It's like I don't know every player on, especially on the offensive line of San Diego State that first year, but I did have a friend who played center for the Aztecs, and his mentor while he was there was Nico, and he told me that Nico really helped him like get into playing college football, and now that guy is the best offensive lineman for the Aztecs right now. And so I think there's a connection there with, first off, him being, helpful to my friend, being a mentor. I think that shows good leadership, especially for a young guy, a freshman coming in. And then also just the San Diego State. And outside of that, just that personal connection, like he's a fantastic run blocker. Like he struggles somewhat in pass protection, and that's not his strong suit, but he was a big reason why Pumphrey was so good at San Diego State was because he's a fantastic run blocker. I mean, even in the NFL, when you watch him in the preseason, he was a good run blocker. I mean, I think the reason he didn't stick in the NFL was his pass blocking skills are, they leave a lot to be desired, and hopefully something he'll work on. But as a run blocker, fantastic, and I hope he does well with the LA Wildcats. Not a ton there, but I mean, it's the personal connection, it's things like that make someone your son.
Yes.
It's a connection beyond just thinking they're good.
Yes.
I think that's what makes someone a son for me. But anyway, that's why Nico is my LA Wildcats son.
Big Nico.
So, who is your son, Thomas, for the LA
My
Wildcats?
son for the LA Wildcats is also an offensive lineman. He is Patrick. All right, I'm going to say Vehi. That's probably not right. So,
I
Patrick.
want to say something before you go on. This
for it.
is, I looked through all your sons and I watched videos about them and I watched their tape. This is my favorite of your sons
Really?
because I watched something that immediately I was like, I like this guy. But I'll go into it
I like
later
this
what
guy.
it was. But talk him up.
I like the cut of this guy's jib. So, Patrick Vahi, because he is Polynesian. So, I assume, I'm actually thinking it's probably like Patrick Vai or something like that.
Yeah.
That's semi-racist, whatever. So, Patrick from Texas. He is I haven't really seen anything. If something you looked up is like an interview with him or anything like that. I like him more because of just his play. He is mobile, agile, and hostile. He is a athlete in a big body. He gets off the ball, and he gets off the ball quick. If he's pulling around the edge, he's going to get there quick. If he has to disengage from a double team, he's leaving at the right time and getting to the next level quick. His hair looks fucking awesome in his helmet when it's long. I don't know if it's just a natural hair color, but there's one game I watched where he dyed the tips of it burnt orange because he played for Texas. Thought that was awesome. Just a little side thing there. His hand placement is awesome. They have good coaches up at UT, so I mean, they're good with that. And he's strong. He had 30 reps at 225, which I don't really like the bench press, but that's strong, especially for a guy who doesn't necessarily have, he doesn't have short arms. But yeah, and he was a leader for that Texas team, even though I think that Texas team he was on underachieved. He was still a leader on that Texas team, and he was reported to be like one of the dudes in the locker room that a coach would go to and be like, "What's going on?" Like blah 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 blah. He was what Pat McAfee would call an OG in the locker room for UT.
Okay, so with this guy,
yes.
So watch this video. So I gave Thomas the link to the video I'm talking about. So watch it while I talk right quick.
Okay, I will.
So when I first looked up this guy, I watched him play, of course, and then I watched like a little interview, kind of like not documentary, but a little docu thing that he was just talking. He was just saying, I'm a leader and I want to, I'm glad to coach. And he was being very subdued. Yes. And so I was like, I don't know. This guy's kind of boring. I don't know why Thomas picked this guy. And then so I watched some more of his tape, and then I saw this video that I just sent to Thomas. And in this video, he's Tongan. And he does this celebration in the post game with Texas, where he's doing like somewhat of a dance. He's speaking in his native tongue, and he's slapping his chest, has his tongue out, his hair's all riled up, and he's just full of so much energy. And it was just the most entertaining thing I've watched in a while. And I was like, this is a guy I want in my locker room. I feel like I want to make this guy my son as well.
So that's what's called a haka. And haka.
That's what I thought it was called. Yes. I didn't want to say it without knowing for sure.
But when they're performed correctly and by like giant Samoan dudes, it's the coolest fucking thing ever. When they're performed by white dudes who don't necessarily have like the best timing and it's not really their culture, it's like, why are you doing that? But hakas are cool. I assume they did something like that just because he's Polynesian or Tongan, but I didn't see that, so that makes me like him more. So Patrick Vahey, or Patrick Vahey, whatever his name is, he's fucking cool.
What's cool about it, he's the only one doing it, and everyone's just kind of watching him.
But he's just giving it 10,000%. He's just like, yeah, tongues out, yeah. That's fucking
slamming
cool, man.
His wrist, sticking his tongue out. I was like, all right, this guy's cool.
Well, if you can fucking do that, hakas are fucking
too.
cool. Like I said, if they're done by like giant dudes, it looks fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Because they know what they're doing, and it's like it's part of their culture, so they get real emotional with it. So, but yeah, that's cool.
So I want to tell you guys to go look this video up. Just look up Patrick Vahey. It's Vahes post game locker room celebration OU. Look that up. It's a fantastic video. It made me like this guy a lot. So
10 out of 10.
Yeah, I want to take this guy as my son as well. I just want to.
Well, he's my son. You cannot have him.
Well, you know what's good about this with the Wildcats is we've got two offensive guards as sons. So hopefully they're not competing against each other and they're both just on opposite sides. And we can appreciate the Wildcats' offensive line.
My son will beat out your son.
Oh, my son's... Why do we got to compete with our sons?
Because we live vicariously through our sons.
Well, if they're competing, Nico will win this out, even though I do enjoy Patrick Vahey. And he's also a great player. I think he's probably a better in terms of just play. He's probably better than Nico.
Well, Nico got drafted. I don't think Patrick got drafted. So
I don't know what it is because I watched the tape. He looked strong. He looked stronger than Nico, but maybe the technique. I'm really telling you, like Nico's very good at run blocking, but his pass blocking really needs some work. But
maybe that's why. Maybe I guess the NFL would value pass blocking more. But because Patrick didn't get drafted. Whatever. I don't know.
Well, anyway, all right. Let's move on to the Guardians.
Yes.
And so my son here is DeMarcus Ayers, he's a wide receiver from Houston. So as you probably know, me and Thomas are from the Houston area. At least that's where we went to high school.
The
first college, like I never cared about college football, But the first time I did was 2009 maybe, and that's when Case Keenum was playing for them. And I was a big fan of Case Keenum. If I was ever going to buy a college jersey, it was going to be a Case Keenum jersey. And so I kind of always had an affinity for the Cougars. And I remember our friend Blake was going to school. He went to University of Houston. DeMarcus Ayers was playing there. And he talked about it a lot. And so I saw a lot of this guy. I mean, I would watch clips because I'd get them sent to me. And I'm just a fan of Houston and Houston players. And I'm always rooting for U of H somewhat. And they're not ahead of SDSU for me right now just because that's where I actually went to school. But University of Houston's my second school. And it's like one of the few. I only applied to a select number of colleges. Applied to a Texas college, and it was University of Houston. So I do have an affinity for the University of Houston. But even outside of that, just as a player, fun to watch again. That's a big thing. He's not a tall guy. He's not like a big body guy. But he's one of those run after catch, shifty guys that I enjoy. He doesn't juke in small spaces, like I said with Stacy Coley, where it's like, you stand in place and you just try to shake the guy and then run. He kind of, when he has the ball to me, he runs like a running back in the way that he follows blocks and he just looks for lanes and he goes. That also is what makes him good as a kick returner and a punt returner, and I think that's mainly, he will be used as a wide receiver, obviously, with the Guardians, but I think he will be their kick and punt returner as well. And what's surprising about me making Ayers my son is that he's not typically the kind of wide receiver that I fall in love with, and that's my favorite kind of player, and that's like, 6'3", 220, 230-pound guys that are gigantic and playing wide receiver. Those are the kind of guys that I'm always like, this guy could be so good. But he's a smaller guy, but I enjoy watching DeMarcus Ayers play, and I have that, Houston connection with him, so I'm rooting for him, and that's why he is my New York Guardians son.
Mm-hmm. I like DeMarcus Ayers too. I'm honestly surprised he did not stick with the Steelers. Right?
So I think he's pretty good. But Who's your son here?
My son is Garrett Brumfield.
Another
he was
guard.
a guard for LSU. He is like Patrick Vahi or Vahi, whatever. And you will notice it is the theme of how I like my offensive linemen. They're athletes in a big body. He can fucking move. This dude is, I would say, if he wasn't 320 pounds, he would be like legit fast. Like, he can fucking move. There were times where he would pull and it would be very, very like quicker than it should be. He's super tough. I don't even say that in his play style. LSU, before this year with Joe Burrow, of course, has been plagued by subpar quarterback play, and they didn't really win too many big games. And Garrett was always one of the first dudes who would come out and be like, I'll be there, I'll sit there for the interviews or the post-game stuff, even though some players might not want to, which that might be like a boomer thing to say. But I like that.
Okay,
that means
boomer.
something to me. Exactly, but that means something to me. I like that a lot. He has a tested pass rush anchor, and what I mean by that is that if he's set and he knows that you're his assignment, and he knows you're coming, he knows how you're coming, he can sit, and it's going to be tough to get past him. He's got a good anchor. He's got a good lower half of his body. This is one of those dudes who, when he did not get drafted, I was surprised, and made me kind of rethink how I look at offensive linemen when I'm trying to evaluate them, but when I'm trying to figure out who's going to be good or bad. But I like him still. I did post a video, and while it may seem meatheady to you,
yeah, I laughed at it. I tried not to cut you off with my laugh.
A reason for it. Because the fact that he can get that low means his hip and ankle mobility is fantastic, and that is super important in an offensive lineman. Yes, sorry, I should explain. Thomas
sent me a video, an 11-second video of this offensive guard doing a 506-pound squat.
Yes, and it is to fucking the basement, which is great. There are some minor technique issues, which I won't get into here. But
oh my god!
But the fact that he can get to the basement and stay stable and get back up, he's in the that's beautiful. he's in the fucking basement. Like I said, his ankle mobility and his hip mobility, at least in the way that it needs to be for the squad, is great, which with big guys is rarer than you would think. So that's
right.
important for his athletic profile, and I like that a lot. So Garrett Brumfield.
I don't know what I was expecting when you sent me a YouTube video, but I really should have expected it just to be a video of him squatting.
Well,
I don't know why that wasn't
damn.
the first thing I expected, but I should have.
Well, I meant to put that in there earlier, and then I forgot, and I don't remember what the title was. I was like, Garrett Brumfield squat. It didn't come up, and I was like, fuck. But it was good.
Well, okay, so New York Guardians. I've got DeMarcus Ayers. You've got Garrett Brumfield. So
Yes.
a lineman and a wide receiver for the Guardians that we enjoy. We're going to move on now to the Seattle Dragons. And with my son on this team, it's going to be B.J. Daniels, who's the quarterback out of USF. So why he's my son. So I think when he got into the NFL, he was a guy who was like, he got to play quarterback, but he really only got to play quarterback in like a gadget way. And that he was just because he's a good runner and he's a good scrambler. They didn't really care if he threw the ball. They really wanted him as for his legs. Even when he went to the Falcons, he got transitioned to running back. So I'm glad that now he's coming back to the XFL and he's getting to play quarterback again. And he's listed as a quarterback, so I'm assuming he's playing quarterback. Right now, I think he's slotted as the backup. They brought in Chase Liddon because he was drafted. He's not one of those tier 1 guys, so he's slotted as the backup as it stands now. But Chase Liddon's a tier 1 guy, and Brandon Silver's a tier 1 guy. So I'm really hoping that B.J. Daniels gets his chance to play quarterback again. I think he can excel. I think he has a good arm. From what I saw, I think he has a good arm. I think it's a serviceable arm, and I think he can run just really well. In terms of his running, like I said, he's just a dude as a runner, which is something you don't see out of quarterbacks, and probably for a reason, because you don't want them getting hurt. But he's a little bit older, and don't know if he's going to get back to the NFL. So he might be an XFL guy that sticks around. And if you're at the end of your career and you want to fight for yards, and if you do get injured, that's your call. I think it should be up to him. And if that's what he wants to do, be a guy who has nothing to lose and try to fight for yards and not care if he gets hit, then let him do it in the XFL if he wants to do it. I think, again, I just love powerful runners, and he's a powerful runner at quarterback. So, and so the other thing I said that he is a backup, and he's probably going to end up being the backup because they're not paying him a ton of money like they are the other two. But even if he doesn't win the starting job, he shouldn't be removed from the game plan. Like, as much as I just said I don't like this, if they're going to use him in a gadget way, at least he's getting playing time. So use him like they do Taysom Hill or something. Stick him in on gadget plays where he can throw the ball from the wide receiver position. He can line up at running back, bring him in on Wildcat, just drop plays for him because I'd like to see him play, even if he's not the starter. So, yeah. B.J. Daniels, my son, Seattle Dragons, like this guy. So, anything? I know you like him too. So,
I like B.J. Daniels. I agree with everything you said. I also believe he was a guy who was kind of pigeonholed to be like, well, you play quarterback, but you're not a fun quarterback. I like B.J. Daniels. He was on the Texans very briefly, but I liked B.J. Daniels a lot in college. There was a string of USF quarterbacks, so I really liked which one we'll definitely get into later.
Oh, will we? All right. So who's your guy?
So my guy,
the Dragons,
true son, Keenan Reynolds, who was a wide receiver in the XFL, but he was a quarterback at Navy. He is probably, I'm probably forgetting someone, but probably the biggest big-time college, oh, no, never mind, I'm wrong as shit. But he is a big-time college ball player at a service academy that tickles the boomer inside me. So I like that a lot. He was on Navy when Navy was definitely a triple option team. They did pass a little more frequently, and he can pass, but they were for sure a triple option team at that point. When which was great for Keenan because he is like when he takes off, his vision is so great. Like he will find the hole, and he's got a little bit of a thinner frame, so he can fit through more holes. Pause. But the best way to describe it for me is he is like a track type open field runner. He will not really try to change his direction so much as he will run around you, or he will definitely wait for his blocks to set up. And it's just he has a few runs in college that are beautiful to watch, just because of the patience and the vision and the field awareness of his blockers coming to help him, and just where everyone's at the same time. He's awesome. He was a receiver on the Ravens practice squad for a while, and also on the Seahawks practice squad for a while, I think. But I like Keenan Reynolds a lot.
You know who he reminds me of, sort of?
Who does he remind you of?
DeMarcus Ayers.
Yeah,
in terms of how he runs.
Kinda, yeah, that wouldn't be too far off. Yeah, I would agree with that. That's really not.
He's
that's
another
really
guy I think has ended up being a kick and punt returner for their team because he runs like that. He's one of those people, like I said with DeMarcus Ayers, where he waits for blocks to set up. I actually saw when I was looking at his highlights a fantastic kick return when he was on the Ravens preseason. I was like, that was fantastic. So I hope he is their kick and punt returner. I think he'd be good there. And they can, of course, use him for trick plays like you mentioned, being a former quarterback. So I like this guy, too. Yes. He's not my son, but I like him. I could see why he would be your son. And also, I saw interviews and stuff. He seems like a good leader. And I think, you go to Navy,
Yeah, well, he's a lieutenant in the actual Navy.
Yeah, so I think he'd be a good leader. I heard something about him, like, I can't recite it directly, but it was something like he wasn't going to play, and he had his uniform on the sideline. And then someone came up and they're like, "Why do you have your uniform on?" He's like, "I'm going to try to convince him to let me play. Like, I'm not going to take my uniform off." He's all geared up.
What had happened was the United States military was like, "Yeah, go play in the NFL. That's fine." And then he got drafted, and they were like, "Wait a minute, actually," and he was like, "Are you fucking serious?" And they were like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, well, I'm still going to be on the team, but if I can't suit up, then I can't suit up." So it was a stupid, weird, complicated situation that was fumbled and befumbled. So whatever. So
yeah. So I think he's going to be good too. So I like him. So our son's B.J. Daniels, who's a backup quarterback, and Keenan Reynolds, wide receiver, who might do some gadgety stuff as well for the Dragons. So let's move on to the Tampa Bay. No, I moved too far.
No,
the St. Louis
don't jump the gun.
Battlehawks.
I know you're excited. Don't jump the gun.
I want to talk. Why is he last? I want to talk about him so bad. So we're going to talk about the St. Louis Battlehawks. This is not an adopted son, but not a guy I would have thought of as a son when he was in the NFL, because I do remember him from the NFL. This is Matt Jones. He's a running back from the University of Florida. So why he's my son is he's unique in the way that it's another kind of running back I don't think you see all that often. So he's 6'2", he weighs 230, but he's not a power back. He's more of he's very fast and he's shifty, but he's huge for a running back.
He's huge.
So he's a unique guy and a type of player I just feel like you don't see too often. And that's why he stuck out to me. And why he's really my son, that's just something about, that's not why he's my son. That's just something I wanted to point out. Why he's my son is because I do remember him playing for the Redskins not too long ago. And I think he filled in for an injured player, perhaps. I can't remember exactly. But he got to play a ton in his rookie year at the end. And he was really good in his rookie year. I remember thinking going forward, Matt Jones was going to be the running back. So the next season came and he got injured. And his career kind of got derailed by that whole injury. So Robert Kelly took over, if you guys remember him. And he performed well as well. And so they kind of just forgot about Matt Jones. And they kind of just stuck with Kelly. So he got bumped down all the way to third string behind Chris Thompson. And he eventually was just cut from the team. I just don't think it was fair. I thought he showed a lot of promise in his rookie season, at least to stay with the team and even be a second string guy. I don't know why he didn't stick in the NFL, but I hope that going to the XFL will give him a shot to like remind people how good he was in that rookie season, because he was a running back that I thought was going to be a starter. Like I just thought he was going to start for the Redskins, but they replaced him with Robert Kelly, and Robert Kelly is no longer on the team. So I hope he's a guy, and I think he's a guy who's going to find his way back to the NFL because he's not too old, and I think he has a shot to get back into the NFL.
What I would say about Matt Jones is he was one of the casualties of the Redskins running back ridiculousness that is still going on, where they have like 40 running backs because that team is poorly run. But yeah, Matt Jones is solid. Yeah, I really have nothing else to say about him besides he's solid. He was fine.
I just really, my biggest thing is I just feel like he just got the shit into the stick. Like the reason this didn't stick out to me is I thought he was still in the league.
Yeah.
Because he was he was a guy that I didn't even know he got cut from the Redskins, I guess, because I wasn't following the Redskins too much, but I just thought he was still on the roster somewhere. Because he was good that one, that rookie season. I remember him filling in. He probably played against the Vikings, and he had some huge games like in that rookie season. He had 100-yard games, 100-yard receiving games. I just can't believe he didn't stick around long term.
He can't make the club in the tub is probably what happened. And like I said, the Redskins have had like 3,000 running backs since 2014. So
yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
Sad, but that's my son, Matt Jones. I just hope he gets back in the NFL.
All right.
Not a true son, but a son.
Not a true son.
I'm rooting for him because I want him to get back in the NFL because I don't think he got his fair shot.
Yes. So,
right,
my son on the St. Louis Battlehawks. Now, everyone knows my true son on the St. Louis Battlehawks, my premier son of the XFL, is Jordan Ta'amu, the quarterback for the current St. Louis Battlehawks. But for redundancy's sake, and since I've already talked him up, we're gonna do a prodigal son. Now, what is a prodigal son? A prodigal son is someone who has had success, or at least was thought of well, in the NFL, or whatever, and is now he's back. He's grinding his teeth. He's paying his dues. He's trying to get back. So prodigal son. So that guy for the St. Louis Battlehawks is Quentin Patton. He's a wide receiver out of LA Tech. At LA Tech, he was LA Tech. He was the top fucking dog. If you needed, I think it was something. There was some stat where it was like 60 or something % of the offensive plays ran his last year at LA Tech were through him, which is insane for a wide receiver. He has A+ production in college. His route running is fantastic. However, he does suffer from the NFL ready curse. And what that is basically if there's like an offensive skill player, mainly applies to running backs and wide receivers. If they are, quote unquote, the most NFL ready prospect in the draft, it usually means they're either not going to pan out or they're already as good as they're going to get. And they're not going to get precisely, and they're not going to get any better in the NFL. And they're just kind of going to stagnate and not stick around for too long. Laquan Treadwell is a good example. Quentin Patton, I think, is one of the best examples ever because people are like, oh yeah, Quentin Patton, he's literally like, he's going to be fine. He'll be your number 2 for 30 years. But he didn't pan out because I think he was already athletically maxed out. Like he wasn't going to get faster, stronger, better, which isn't his fault. And he just couldn't. It's hard to make your money in the NFL if you can't separate, and unfortunately, that's what he struggled with was separation. So yeah, NFL ready curse. It's there. If a prospect is ever like, oh, they're clearly the most NFL ready in the draft, it usually means they're not flashy and they're safe, which usually means they're not too good. For example. Like quarterback example, Marcus Mariota was viewed as more NFL ready than Jameis Winston. Marcus Mariota cannot move an NFL offense down the field because he's too conservative. So that's what that means.
I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, I like Quentin Patton. I think he's still good. I think he'll still be serviceable. I think he'll be good at this level for sure. I think he's still a serviceable NFL wide receiver, but yeah, I like Quinn Patton.
So here's my thing with Quinn Patton.
Yes.
He seemed like a very cocky dude. And I'm
Really?
not like, sometimes I feel like people who are very cocky, it depends on the situation, but sometimes they rub me the wrong way. But, so I was watching his highlights. He played with Colin Kaepernick, right, on the 49ers? I think of the right guy, right?
Yes.
So he was just, I just remember every time he got a touchdown, he did the same dance, and it was like, I don't know, that's all that's really sticking out to me from his tape.
That fucking dance.
What I was seeing about him was when he was catching passes, it was like I didn't see any highlight over the top catches. It was like he was always wide open, and I don't know, maybe that's his route running, but maybe it was just playing against preseason talent.
Possible.
But he was always wide open, and I was never blown away by anything I saw. Just in terms of just
that's
like
him.
production.
That's what I mean. That's like the NFL ready thing. You're not flashy. Like,
He wasn't
fine.
flashy at all.
You're fine.
Okay.
And being fine is like, no. In the NFL, if you're just fine, you're going to get replaced. So,
Okay.
you're probably right.
I want to move on because it's finally time to talk about the truest son I've ever had in the XFL. And so we're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Vipers. And my guy, this is the OG. This is my firstborn XFL son.
Oh, wow.
This is a guy, when I did my research for our very first episode, I was blown away, and he instantly became my son. This is Nick Truesdell. He's a tight end from Grand Rapids Community College. So why is this guy my son? I've talked about him before, but that was a long time ago. It was 8 episodes ago, and I didn't know as much about him as I do now, and I have a lot more to say. So first off, I'll just go through this. Small school guy, right? And you just gotta love a small school guy. And community college guy. Like, as far as I could tell, he didn't play anywhere else. He was just a community college guy. So the fact that he's still playing football, I think he's almost 30. The fact that he's still playing football, I mean, that's a love for the game. He's found a way, even if it's not in the big leagues. He's been on some practice squads and stuff, but he was on the Vikings practice squad, so, I don't need to say anything else about that, but he was on the Vikings practice squad. He was on, and he went to training camp with us, so. But, if you're a guy who's still playing football at 30, though you've never really got a shot in the NFL, and, like, obviously you like football, and it's not about money and fame. You just like football. Yeah. And so that's just something I appreciate about him. But what really, piqued my interest is just like, this is stereotypically my type of receiver, tight end, athlete in general. This dude is just fast, rangy, huge. This dude's 6'7", playing tight end, weighing 246, and he ran a 4.47 on the 40. And just these are the guys that I like. And so I like to watch guys run right past linebackers and moss the fuck out of corners. He's 6'7", he's going to be mossing everyone. I mean, and originally I wrote here, there's no point of bringing him in to block, just line this dude up out wide and let him work. But I watched more tape, and he's actually pretty good at blocking. I wrote fantastic here. That might have been a little bit of an over-exaggeration. He's a good blocker. Like, he played in the AAF for, 6 games, and he was actually, he was the best tight end in the AAF. I wasn't a big AAF guy, but it turns out he was the best tight end in the AAF, from what I found out. So, can he be my son? I don't know, but I didn't know about that before.
He can for sure be your son. He fits all the son criteria. He's good. He passes the test.
But he was the best tight end in the AAF. What I liked when I was watching his tape, because I hadn't really got a time to sit down and watch his tape. I just knew I liked him immediately, just seeing his measurables. But I really got a time to sit down and watch a ton of his tape. And what I love about him is he just looks goofy as hell on the field because he's just so big. Like when you see like a lanky, tall 7'2" basketball player on like the court, and they look like giraffes, and they look like, I can't believe you play sports. You're just too gigantic. That's what he looks like with all the other players, because 6'7" is huge for the NFL. Yeah. So he's way bigger than everyone, and every time I saw him run on a route, I would just see linebackers. They'd look at him and be like, "Oh fuck," because he's fast as shit too. So they'd look at him and they just run full speed at him and just try to hit the shit out of him. And he'd just run right past him. Or a corner would be on him, and they'd be like grabbing the fuck out of him, and he just didn't care. He's like posting people up like he's going up like to lay the ball up in the post in basketball. He's just fucking pushing them back, grabs the
He's
fucking
gonna
touchdown
post
over
him up
people's
like
head.
he's a basketball player.
Like it's lit. And
I get
so,
what you mean, yeah.
and another thing is I was watching arena football because he played in arena football for a long time, and I had never really watched arena football. So a note on that: arena football is goofy as hell as well. Half of his plays were him lining up like 20 yards back and then running full
Just
speed towards the
sprinting,
line. And they snap the ball and they just throw it and he just plow through people. It was just interesting. This dude is crazy. I'm watching him play. I've never seen anyone like this. He looks ridiculous on the field. He's just too big for his own good. And it seems like every time he runs out on a route, all the linebackers are looking at him like, oh, what the hell? I'm not gonna be able to catch up with this dude. He's also bigger than me. It's not even just like he's running faster than me. He's also gigantic and way bigger than me. And then the corners are like, he is way bigger than me, and there's literally nothing I can do. I just like watching this guy play. This is my truest son. This is my firstborn XFL son, Nick Truesdale, tight end from Grand Rapids Community College. You got to represent.
So what's hilarious is as you were talking about Nick Truesdale, I was looking up some highlights just to watch it, and I was like, man, this is like a lot of like tape. Like, who compiled all this? And I look at the YouTube channel, and
It's Nick
Nicholas Truesdale.
Hell yeah, you got to do your own rep. I noticed that too. He likes to put out a lot of his own tape.
The hustle. I respect the hustle of one Nicholas Truesdale.
But do you watch some of that? Do you see what I mean about him looking like a giraffe?
Yes,
out
he
there?
does look a little goofy. It doesn't help that he's wearing like a full baby blue AAF uniform, but he does look a little goofy. But that's okay. You can look goofy.
It's fun to watch. I don't care if he looks goofy. See, he's my son. I'm defending him right now.
Exactly. That's fine.
But yeah, that's my guy. I love Nick Truesdale. All right,
So,
who's your guy? Can it top Nick Truesdale?
No. Maybe. But my guy is the other USF QB, Quentin Flowers. He'll be playing running back in the XFL, and he played a little bit of running back in the NFL as well. So Quentin Flowers was a quarterback for USF. Nope, that's a different person. He was really good. While BJ Daniels was kind of pigeonholed into being you're a runner first and a passer second, Quentin Flowers is actually a runner first. You can just kind of tell watching him throw a ball. It's not necessarily like a professional release, and that's not a bad thing. It's not like it's horrific or anything. It's not like it's Tebow-esque or whatever, but it's just not. It's slower, and it's not where it would need to be for him to be a passer in any type of professional league. So that's why he was moved to running back. He's had to overcome a lot in life. His father was killed in a shooting, and I believe his mom was killed, and also his stepbrother was killed, I think all within 6 months of each other. So that's rough, but he's come out the other side of it fine. He's built like a running back. If you watch him play, he does not look out of place. He doesn't look like an undersized quarterback playing running back. He looks like a running back. He does not fumble. I don't think he's ever fumbled or done ever recorded fumble yet. So that's pretty awesome. And he just has a presence when he has the ball, or at least he did a lot more when he's the quarterback for USF. When he was carrying the ball downfield and he had it, he just, something about him having, you're like, oh, this is going to be exciting. Like, this is going to be interesting. I'm excited to watch this play. Let's see what's going to happen. He was on the Bengals for a little bit. I don't know if he made the actual roster, but Bengals also for a little while had the Redskins curse going where they had 3,000 running backs. They're better now, but I think he was kind of caught up in that. But yeah, Quinn Flowers, I like him a lot. He is a true son. I probably should have went first because I didn't really gush over him as much as you gushed over Nick Truesdale. But that's okay. So, yeah.
All right. So here's my thing with Quentin Flowers. Like,
yes.
The thing is you picked a ton of quarterbacks turn running back turn wide
so it's
receiver
hard
or whatever.
To evaluate, yeah.
So it was hard to find tape that I could make applicable to.
Yes.
Because there's not much NFL tape of most of these guys.
Yes.
When they're actually playing these positions.
Yes.
So I was able to find like one preseason game where I got to see him like run one time. So I can't say a bunch about him in terms of being a player. So there's not much I can say. I mean, it seems like he has, a good story. Like I can see why you're rooting for him.
Yes.
And so I have no problem with your son here. Not nearly as good as Nick Truesdale, but
That's fine. I'll take that, I suppose.
But all right, well that's all our sons. I'm gonna go back through and I'm gonna mention some guys. I'm gonna mention one guy really, I guess.
Right.
We didn't mention the quarterbacks because we've talked about them a lot, unless they're like backup guys that we haven't. But of course, my son, Nick Truesdale's number one. But my second son is Philip Walker. He's the quarterback for the Houston Roughnecks, and he's like partially the reason I'm a Houston Roughnecks fan. I just think he is the most exciting, fun to watch quarterback out of all these quarterbacks. I mean, of course, Cardale Jones is exciting because he can throw it long, but I just like the way Philip Walker plays, so that's why he is also my son. But so that's the only other son I wanted to mention that we didn't get into depth here on, but that's our sons. No point of going over it a lot to say all the names again, but anyway, that's our show. Yes. That's our sons. Make sure you guys come back next week for part 2. Where we're gonna do the defensive side of the ball, one player, all 8 teams, just like it was this week. Same format and everything as this week, except we're gonna do defensive guys. And I think we can agree that we're gonna have more options on defense.
Oh, we're gonna have a shitload. I'm gonna have like
that.
people who I talk about that I'm like, well, I like him, but I can't because this guy. So
right, so we're gonna have more options here.
Yes,
because we did reach for some of these guys. Like some of these guys became my son today.
Yes,
at least one or two of them
today.
So, but I'm gonna be real. My truest son from this list is Nick Truesdale, and that's obvious.
Yes.
I think.
My truest son from this list is Dimitri Flowers, but my truest son in the XFL is still Jordan Thomas.
So, all right. Well, that's our show. Thanks for listening, guys. Make sure you guys come back next week and listen. Same thing I said at the top of the show. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on everything you listen to this on. Leave reviews. Do all that stuff. Thumbs up, reviews, ratings, whatever helps the show. That. And make sure you guys send stuff to our DM on Twitter. Make sure you guys send stuff to our email, extrapointcontact@gmail.com. We'll answer questions on the show. I'm telling you, will. I don't know if you guys are like scared to have your questions answered or something, but like send them our way so we have something to talk about.
Are you pussies scared?
Actually, today's show was long.
Scared.
Huh? Today's show was an hour 22. Is what we're at right now.
I know. So, when we were like at the first team, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna be. I always do that. I'm always like, I don't know if it's gonna be an hour, and then it's an hour 15. It's like, oh well.
So we had a good one today, but we won't always have a ton to talk about. I think we got this week and next week shirt up for sure. But,
yes.
We'd love for you guys to send us stuff so we have more stuff to talk about. I did hear some rumors about another draft coming up in January.
Oh shit, bitch.
So
interesting.
Interesting. We're gonna have another show, another draft show coming soon.
It's gonna be bonkers.
And I want to put extra emphasis on this part. Make sure you guys head over to the YouTube and subscribe there, because right now we're just posting the podcast on there, but coming in the near future, we're looking to do some kind of short form content on there. So get in there early, subscribe so you know when that stuff starts coming out. Of course, we're going to shout it out here when it comes and shoot it out on Twitter. Subscribe. But make sure you guys subscribe over there. Stuff's going to be coming up that's going to be exclusive to the YouTube channel, so you guys want to make sure you follow that, subscribe to that, exclusive, so that you can see those videos. So hope you guys enjoyed the show. It was a good week. It was a good show. Thomas, do you have anything to say to our listeners?
Thank you for listening. We appreciate you guys. Please DM us stuff on Twitter. Please email us stuff to our email. We enjoy that very much. So far, support's been great. Yep. And yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Once again, bye-bye.
Adios. Muchachos.